So yesterday we were focused on the biological aspects and the health aspects of this topic. And so today we're switching gears to talk about the financial aspects. The first topic with our panel here on banking and then on insurance. And so like Derek said, hopefully we can make it a little more interesting than what you might expect it to be. But we thought we would start with what's on the client's mind. So before we talk about what are banks doing or what are service providers doing to help clients, let's start with what's on the client's mind. I've been a corporate strategist before I was a policy person for nearly 25 years. And we always start with what's on the client's mind. And what we realized when we were discussing the retirement topics at Bank of America Merrill Lynch is we bank nearly 50 million relationships. So it kind of represents the US. And if you think about the baby boomer demographic, that's represented at the bank too. And so the conversations have been a lot around retirement. And if you had not done a client discussion, we would have assumed that the question that the client would have is how much money do I need to have in the bank when I turn 65 so that I can live out my life with enough decumulation, which is very similar to the graph that Olivia showed us yesterday, the very first graph, right? You save up to 65 and then you decumulate. And we said, why don't we just ask the client what's on their mind first before we assume it's about finances? And we've done work for about 3 years on this, and we came up with what you see on the screen. The clients actually say we care about more than finances. We care about 7 life priorities. And so here are those life priorities, and I'll read them off to you. Finance in the middle, family, giving, which is philanthropic giving, work, which surprised us, home, leisure, which you would expect, and health. So if you had to pick the top of these 7 life priorities, what do you think the client might have said if you had to take a guess?
Family.
So family was up there, but it was unquestionably health. In fact, I'm thinking about, I was mentioning this to Jason and a couple of others yesterday. Every quarter we issue a magazine for our clients. The last issue, cover to cover, was on health, right? And this was it was like maybe a pharmaceutical company issued this magazine as opposed to Merrill Lynch. It was not about currency rates, it was not about alternative investments, it was about health. And so what I wanted to do here is just through a few slides. I'm not going to walk you through all 7 priorities, given the focus of this conference. We'll just talk about the health, what did clients say about health, and then we'll turn it over to each of our guests here to give their presentations too. And then we'll switch into some Q&A. So here it is. The client said their number 1 ingredient to a happy retirement was having good health. Financial security, family, that Derek mentioned, and others, giving is there, leisure is there, but health is like right? So when we think about what solution sets, what services should be provided for our clients, health looms large. And we're hearing this loud and clear. What about health do clients care about? Again, you can see it's expenses, and it's worth reading off what one focus group participant said. I've seen the numbers about what healthcare can cost, and it's hard to wrap your head around it. I haven't even started thinking about when to save right now. Right? And this is like a typical comment that you would get from clients. When we run a Social Security seminar, or when we run a Medicare seminar, it's always standing with me. Right? Very, very curious concept of this. And then a second concern around health is unexpected early retirement. Again, if you look at the top, I have a personal health problem, I don't retire early. Which, by the way, goes against what they express that they want to do in retirement, which is work. Like more than 70-75% of the folks who we surveyed and focus group with said they want to work on their own terms, but they're forced to retire early with health problems. This slide is worth spending a little bit of time on because it's kind of right in the middle of what we're talking about at the meeting here. The majority of our clients said their scariest disability in retirement is Alzheimer's, right? And if you look at the pie chart, it's more than the sum of the fear of any other condition, cardiovascular, diabetes, et cetera, et cetera. So we dug in a little deeper and said, why is this the situation? Why is this so scary? And they came up with 3 reasons. The top 3 reasons were fear of loss of freedom. You might take away my car keys. Fear of loss of dignity. Given, think of a standard average Merril client, you control their assets, long-term relationships, losing their sense of self, like we saw in Still Alice. And then fear of being a burden on their families. Not financial burden necessarily, but a burden. Right? So we have responded strongly to issues with Alzheimer's. And then one of the services that we put in place was to help clients find a nursing home. But this survey gave us a sense for how small a need that is compared to what clients really want to do, right? Which is they want to age in place. And so we're thinking hard about how can we provide services to clients like this. I mentioned about clients wanting to work, and they really, it's not just money, but they want to stay mentally active and physically active. And so you can see big numbers of clients who want to work on their own terms, flexibly, with purpose in retirement. And then I'll just stop on this slide, just in terms of what's in the client's mind, to say that we find that the conversations between spouses is not happening, right? And if you look at those questions, choices regarding Medicare, how to pay for long-term care, what to do in retirement, these conversations are not happening. In fact, when we run seminars on Social Security and Medicare and others, we kind of encourage families. In fact, a friend of mine, Drew, who's in the audience here, and myself, along with Eli Lilly, did a client event in Indianapolis. Entire generations of families showed up, and we talked about Alzheimer's. And this was a Merril client event, but we were talking about Alzheimer's, and they were gripped by it, and would stay for an hour, hour and a half afterwards asking questions. But one client said, this issue of Alzheimer's has been around the table, but not discussed in their family, and we helped put it on the table. This is what's on our client's mind. Health is big. Recently, we had like a 500 advisor gathering, and we were talking about this topic, and we did an informal poll about how many advisors were dealing with this issue in their practice now, not that they know a story, or in their family. Nearly every hand. So we got advisors focused on this, clients caring about this, and so we're taking this topic seriously. So those are my opening remarks, just to kind of whet the palate to say, hey, our clients taking this seriously and can be, if we build it, will they come? I think there's demand.